YouTube, what's going on? What's going on? So, in today's video, I'd like to talk to you guys about HYG. So, I was just randomly, because at the end of the night, I like to go over my stocks. I come over here and I look. Sometimes I go with the highs changing on this, sometimes I go based on volume. So, I basically just look through stocks um, to see what overbought, what stocks close to its resistance, which let me stick with my top real quick. Yeah. So then I ran into this right here, right? So someone in my comment had asked me, how do I know? How do I find when I know? How do I know when stocks are overbought? So for example, so HYG, right? I was looking through the option chain, and I think anything over September, around September, I don't think I've ever seen so much buyers on these stocks. I didn't even know that like these stocks like that had buyers like that. It was in the 300,000. I'm like 300,000. What the open interest at 300,000? I'm like 200,000. I'm like what the yo, that's crazy. But anyways, so I am a little excited to see that though. So yeah, so HYG, right? Honestly, my strategy works on anything, so I don't really care what the stock is. I just care about how close it is to being overbought. And HYG is definitely overbought zone. So I'm gonna be buying puts on. Again, this is me. I'm just basically checking right here to see if the monthly, weekly, and daily all points up, and they all do. So I'm going to see what happens within the next 2 days, because this only works if the stock pushes. And don't take my resistance as, hey, at 7, 8, 29, it's time for it to go oversold. It's oversold. So yeah, the only way I would say that is if you wake up in the morning and this thing is at like 8, like up here, 7 to 9:40 or something like that. Then I'm like, all right, yeah, you could definitely like, hey, you know, it's overbought. So again, I can't tell you guys what to do. You do what you want to do. But this play is 100% on my list. BTB is on my list. I made a video about it earlier today. I'll get. You know what? This is perfect. I'm gonna give you guys an example of what I mean by overbought. They did this to me yesterday, and I was so mad. I was so furious because it was so perfect. It was so perfect. I had everything lined up, man. Look what it did to me. Bam. This was the only play I have for tomorrow. This right here. EEM. Yeah, but you might be thinking, then what do you mean? Like you didn't go over to the overbought zone? Well, guess what? Guess what they did? Guess what they did? They did. They went overbought in the pre-market and then they sold off. Cause I had my puts lined up and everything. Cause I'm like, okay, this is great because this is not just a regular top. This is a 1 day top. And what made this so beautiful to me was, you see how wide the zone is? When the zone is this wide, that means the stock had plenty of time to go up. So when it hits this zone right here, then it's like meaningful. It will most likely have a significant pullback. That's what if I could take every trade like this, I would. A nice big zone like this, overbought, oh man, I would love it. So HYG is basically similar to it. A wide zone. They have been buying since July 2nd, and it's been on an uptrend for a while now, right? It's just been pushing constantly. So which means at some point the buyers are going to want to take profit, and usually they take profit at the top of the range, and this is the top of the range. So again, can't tell you guys what to do. You never know what can be said to have them push it even higher. But at this particular moment, tomorrow morning I will see what happens. But I'll definitely jump in some puts for this one. Definitely. It's another play that I have. So I have BTBT and I have this one right here. I am gonna. The video is technically over now, but I'm gonna go over a couple other stocks that I got my eye on. I didn't want to make this one separately, DJT, but there is nothing significant that I see that would make me want to make a video separate from it. So essentially, what happened was, let me do it this way. So you don't see the gap up right here, but this is what happened. So it pushed up, it hit resist. This is why it sold off, guys. It hit resistance, and this resistance, because I drew up this afterwards. So again, when I draw these my resistance level, a lot of times it is the way I draw them that it make it look like maybe I just draw it. I drew my resistance yesterday after this happened, so technically it's today, my bad. Yeah, today I drew it, right? But I need to look here and then draw my resistance. I looked to the left and then drew my resistance. But because it's DJT so volatile that I drew it from the 1 week instead of like the 1 day, I typically don't go on the 1 week. But it's so volatile that it's hard to say, okay, on the 1 day this is resistance. So I jump to the 1 week because it gives me a better picture. And as you can clearly see, this is 1 week support. We came down to it. It's been, trading sideways for a few weeks. Then, unfortunately, you guys know what happened. Then it popped up. But then when it popped up in a very big way. You don't see it here, but then it hit resistance. Now it's coming back down. Now, typically, with the indicator that you see right here, that's pointing down, when a stock pops up out of it and is in a downtrend, when it comes down, it technically uses this right here as support to then flip the trend. So at this particular moment, DJT is not in a uptrend yet. I'll have to wait and see. But technically, all that happened was a pop and drop. So it's not looking good. Me personally think so. It does not looking good because it's not holding up, but we have to wait and see. But we'd have to wait for it to get to support. But my support zone technically right now is pretty huge. But I would say I would have support down here. Technically, the support is down here around $25 is where the true support is. I got one right here and you have another one down here. So one of these two would be support, but its main support would be down here. But yeah, so for that, yeah. So real quick, the last one I'd like to talk about is Apple. So Apple is also on my list. So Apple, I was actually excited for Apple. I was, be honest with you, because Apple is, I'm like, oh my God, like Apple do not do this. Like these stocks do not, it's so hard for them to hit the top of their range because their range be so huge that it does not happen very often. So I'm talking about Apple, but even ES, it's really close to being at the top. I'm talking about true top, like, but it still has a long way to go. But let's go back to Apple, because Apple, I got my eyes on Apple too. I got my eyes on Apple. So let's go back to Apple real fast. So Apple broke out of this resistance zone I had. Man, my resistance zones are so dang good. Going up, retest, and no trading sideways. So for those who bought puts, no, this thing's actually going up. I didn't buy any call though. Sure bought calls, but I was busy doing something else. I forgot what I was doing. But so yeah, so Apple, again, you don't take my lines and say at 240 I'm gonna buy puts. No, it doesn't work like that. This indicator is a little trickier than that. So you can see, if you had pushed up today, yes, 240 would have been at resistance. But the way this indicator works is each day it kind of creates, you see how if tomorrow the top would be up here or around 42, 43, 243, and then the next day it gets higher. So every day it kind of like the resistance gets higher, right? So today, if it pushed up harder, then I would have been like, all right, tomorrow now I need Apple to be roughly about, to be on the safe side, around 244. And I'm talking about an aggressive push, 244 up, straight up, you know. Yeah. And then once that happens, I'll definitely jump into some Apple puts. So, yeah, so I definitely got those two on my list, definitely. So, anyways, guys, see you guys in my next one.